Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. I need to cover some of these puppets in Congress because they continue to expose themselves as nothing but frauds. Now, obviously conservatives are going to look at the Democrats and say that they're nothing but frauds. And Democrats are going to look at the Republicans and say that they're nothing but frauds. But in reality, every single politician is working together. And this interview just proves that. Now, Jimmy Kimmel, again, this is what we've come to in the year 2024. Late night talk shows used to be about the latest propaganda films that would be coming out, kissing celebrities' rear ends. People would tune in for the monologue and some of the jokes. And of course, there's none of that anymore because there's really no humor anymore because none of this stuff that they put out is actually funny. In fact, most people who end up laughing at some of the jokes that people like Jimmy Kimmel crack are just laughing because the audience is laughing, and the audience is only laughing because a giant laugh box is telling them to laugh, which shows you how deep the hypnotism runs. And if you go to Jimmy Kimmel's channel, you'll see all the people that show up on his show to be interviewed are all politicians. Nobody in the past would ever have even tuned in if they heard, hey, did you know that a city council member from California was going to be the guest on The Late Show tonight? They'd say, I don't want to listen to that crap. What? Where's Jack Nicholson? I mean, what? Why would I want to hear a politician? Well, now, of course, they use these politicians because these politicians are hurting humanity. No pun intended. And his recent slew of guests include a man named Eric Swalwell, who you've probably heard of. Eric Swalwell's character that he's playing is a Democrat who, of course, was caught having an affair with a Chinese spy. Yes, that's correct. Was caught having an affair with a Chinese spy. The scripts that they use are literally out of movies. They are beyond ridiculous. And of course, these would be things that would get these politicians arrested for treason. I would think if a politician was in a relationship with somebody who was a spy from another country, especially when that's not an ally of ours, well, that the civilians would call not only on the person to be removed from their political position, but in fact, they would be imprisoned. And impeachment is a crime that can have very serious consequences, or at least it used to. You see, now in today's world, every single politician is openly committing treason and nobody seems to care. And of course, I'm not even mentioning the fact that they're all Freemasons and members of secret society, which in itself is an act of treason. But I need to play for you this clip of Eric Swalwell talking on Jimmy Kimmel. And he's talking about how behind the scenes, all these guys are friends. They're all buddy-buddy. On camera, they act one way, but off camera, they talk to each other at the gym. Some of these guys who you would think would never communicate with the other guy, like Matt Gaetz, who pretends to be, extreme hardcore conservative, right? He's tapping the guy on the shoulder, this guy who out in the open has admitted to being in a relationship with a Chinese spy. It shows you that they're all controlled, but I want you to listen closely because it's incredible that we're at a point where these people out in the open are talking about politics and politicians as being professional wrestlers. That's right, of all things, professional wrestlers, because they're telling you that this is all scripted. From Hulk Hogan coming out at the Republican National Convention, if that wasn't obvious enough, coming out on stage, ripping his shirt, making the entire thing look like a production because it was. Well, now, if you listen to this interview clip I'm about to play for you, this guy talks about how all of these guys, when the cameras are off, they're all fake because they're all friends with each other. Everybody's buddy-buddy. And he literally compares what's going on in Congress to professional wrestling. And if you're not aware, professional wrestling is fake. And this just proves that politicians are nothing more than actors.
When you eviscerate your fellow members of Congress like that, what is it like afterwards? Like, are you guys in the cafeteria together? What kind of conversations do you have after that?
There's a gym, like a congressional gym.
Heard about that, yeah.
You have Jim Jordan. Sometimes he's on, like, the elliptical next to my treadmill. And the first couple of times I thought, oh, this is going to be really awkward. But you go in there, and he's like, hey, Swalwell, how you doing, man? I'll see Matt Gaetz out at a restaurant in D.C., and he'll come over and be like, hey, buddy, how's it going? Ted Cruz during the impeachment, the second impeachment, I probably should clarify. We're on a break, and we're in the bathroom, and I'm washing my hands. He's washing his.
He washes his hands?
The cleanest they'd ever been. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, man, we've never met. I'm Ted. And he puts his fist out. And I was like, hey, Ted. And I gave him like a fist bump back. And he could tell I was looking at him like he had 3 heads.
Right.
Because the night before, he was roasting me on Fox News. And he says to me, he goes, you know, you're doing a really good job out there. And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? He goes, no, really, you're doing a good job. And it occurred to me, for these guys, they're just pro wrestlers. They don't even believe it. Like, they just go out there in the ring in service of Donald Trump. They want to be famous, but that's not what they want to do. I think that's worse because some of them, like when I see Marjorie Taylor Greene, if she's at a restaurant, she wants to kill me.
Right.
And so like,
right.
I'm not engaging with that.
So she's sincere.
Yeah.
So she's actually crazy.
Yeah. But I think it's worse if
Good for her.
She's actually. I think it's worse, though, if you know better and you're still.
Sure
doing
it is. Of course it is. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene can't help being a dummy.
Yeah.
But if you can help it and you are a dummy anyway, I mean, that's kind of despicable.
And pro wrestling was fun when I was a kid, but like that's not why I went to Washington.
Right,
I've got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old.
What, in the bathroom, is Ted Cruz like, is he eating the urinal cakes or what's he up to? Adam Kinzinger was here. He is, for those who don't know, he's a former Republican congressman who's very outspoken against Donald Trump and has really been, I think, persecuted by his, like a lot of even members of his family, et cetera. You know, these people. I think he said something similar about like Trump. Do you know? Does Trump like that? Is he like Hulk Hogan also back there?
He's an entertainer. He's just an entertainer. Yeah.
So he's friendly to you when you see him.
He told me I do a good job on TV.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's all that matters to this guy. Like, again, the consequences for everyone else, like women in their bodies, kids in their safety at school, you know, seniors in their health care, like to him, it's me, and that comes first. And so if you see someone else on TV, again, when the cameras aren't on, he's like, hey, yeah, we're in the club. And it's like, nobody, like there's actually real consequences and stakes for what you're taking us all through. For these guys, they're just pro wrestlers. They don't even believe it. Like, they just go out there in the ring in service of Donald Trump. They want to be famous, but that's not what they want to do. And pro wrestling was fun when I was a kid, but like that's not why I went to Washington.
Right.
So it's absolutely incredible. I don't know what's more incredible is the fact that nobody is like suspicious or thinking, why are guys like Adam Kinzinger, right? Why is Doug Emhoff, who is Kamala, whatever the name is, Kamala Harris's husband, who is proud to be the second gentleman. This guy is one of the most cringy human beings you will ever see in your life. I mean, you want to talk about the opposite of being a man? This guy right here, Doug Emhoff, if you listen to him talk, holy moly. But he's on Jimmy Kimmel. Every day Jimmy Kimmel is having a politician on. And this is psychologically being done by design. All of a sudden, these politicians who are supposed to be working for us are now actors because they're showing up on these shows and they're talking just like actors talk. And they're trying to create a perception in your mind of how these people are behind closed doors. Isn't that amazing? Suddenly they're talking about, well, what happens when the cameras are off? What do you guys do? Well, there's a gym and you all go to that gym together. And they want you to think to yourself, well, it's really just the Republicans who are extremely fake people. They don't even believe in what they say on national television. They don't believe the stuff that they're spewing. They're just admitting to being actors. And the reality of the matter is both sides are fully controlled. This guy's controlled. Eric Swalwell, Ted Cruz is controlled. Adam Kidd. They're all controlled. And all they're doing is creating division, period. Divide and conquer, the oldest motto. We're watching it play out. These are the people who are going out on national TV almost every single day. This is what they do every day. You see these same people on shows like Jimmy Kimmel, on Fox News, on other late night talk shows. They just keep going out. You say to yourself, wait, are they working all day or is this their job to just go on national television almost daily so that we feel like we actually know these people and they're giving us an inside look what these politicians are like behind closed doors? But he really had a slip of the tongue there, didn't he? Comparing it to pro wrestling, literally saying that everything is scripted that's coming out of these people's mouths, and behind closed doors, they're all friends. But what they won't do is go any further than that, because what they want you to think is that all conservatives are fake. Not that all these guys are fake and all of these guys are doing what they're doing deliberately to sabotage the infrastructure. They're the ones who are deliberately causing division. They are the ones who are following their motto, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. We've never seen the United States of America so civilly divided. We've never seen so many people get to a point where they don't even want to live among somebody who doesn't vote the way that they are. I mean, how many news stories have you heard over the last 6 months where people with Trump flags or, Trump, whatever you want to call it, Trump banners out in their yard, that people are calling the police on them and neighbors are coming to their door and telling them to take it down, that it's obnoxious. They keep putting these stories out there, right? And they're putting it out there to program you in a sense, right? They're making it so that your next door neighbor, if they have a different idea of who they want to vote for, that you can't even live among them. And it's all these people who are causing this division. They're psychologically manipulating and hurting the masses, hence, again, hurting humanity. He's admitting that all of these people are friends. They go to the same gym, they go to the same restaurants, they run into each other all the time, because this is the playbook that they're acting out. They're the ones who are calling civilians terrorists, right? How many of these Democratic guys go on national television and say that white, nationalists, people who believe in the country over the earth, who want their rights here in America, that they're terrorists, right? That's what they say. They talk about some of these events that occur at these pride events where Christians show up and protest, or even Christians who show up and pray outside of Planned Parenthood. And then they openly say that, well, that's domestic terror. These are domestic terror. These people are dangerous, right? They're calling us these things, and we're allowing them to call us these things. They're clearly not working for us. All they're working to do is divide us. And the sooner people realize that it's not just one side or the other, it's not just, oh, well, Ted Cruz and these guys behind closed doors are different. You don't think Eric Swalwell is? Eric Swalwell is trying to give you the impression that, well, he's the real deal. So when these guys come up to him and shake his hand, he's rolling his eyes. He's going, these people are so fake, right? These Christians like Ted Cruz, they're so fake. They don't believe in what they're actually selling. We're the real deal here, us communist folk, right? Because that's what Democrats are. Just the majority of Democrats think they're this thing called socialists, but they don't realize it's one and the same. And in fact, they're beginning to remove all the freedoms and all the rights that we have, and both parties are working together to do that. They're the ones who are removing free speech. I can't emphasize it enough about when Donald Trump was the president of the United States. That is when the censorship began. There was no draining of a swamp. In fact, that was right after the event happened at that pizza place. And then after that, all of a sudden, we saw mass amounts of censorship. Nothing was done. In fact, it only got worse and worse and worse and worse. They just don't tell you that. But all of us, people here on this channel, me, myself, we've all felt it. We've experienced it, but nobody knows this because they don't talk about it on the national news, right? Because their favorite alt-right media people are not getting censored because they're keeping them stuck in the left-right paradigm. So this guy goes on national TV and he literally talks about politicians as if they're professional wrestlers. He's literally admitting that everything is fake. It's all fake. So you might say to yourself, well, why is it fake? Well, they're trying to destroy the infrastructure. So they're the ones who are acting and gaslighting everybody into nothing more than mass division. And people are looking around, trying to figure out what's even going on. And all they are is angry. Everybody's angry. And it's because of these guys who, even as this guy admits, off camera, these guys are smiling and slapping each other on the rear end. It's incredible. The whole thing is nothing more than a giant act, and they'll even tell you themselves. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.